Hello and welcome to an amazing podcast. This is Omega D.
And this is Modi.
And today we're doing something a little bit different. We are reviewing a manga, and not just any manga, the brand spanking new Death Note one-shot sequel.
Yep. Yep. Is this I guess it is a sequel.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, that was a really fun, very happy they decided to produce it.
Yeah.
This was so much fun, a lot of great nostalgia, and all around super awesome. What did you think?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I like while I was reading it, I was catching myself hoping that there would be more after this, that like there would be a reboot Death Note, which if you know me, you know how crazy that is because I hate all sorts of and sequels to the time. But that's how good it was. And I think for a one shot, this was done perfectly well. Because I've read like a lot of one shots before, and I guess to be fair, a lot of one shots are usually meant to be like an introduction to a series. This is kind of more like an addition to the series. But yeah, it was done really well, and it was awesome. Probably the best thing I've read in like a.
This is probably one of my favorite forms of Death Note media in the recent years since the anime ended. That and the recent live action series, even though I haven't finished. And honestly,
Wait, the Netflix one?
no, there was a Japanese one that came out a while back.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
No, I was just about to mention that. Like, this makes me hate the Netflix one so much more because this right here is exactly what it should have been. Instead of them like trying to retell the story, just have Ryuk fly to America and just give someone else the Death Note and just chill out and screw with them instead of like
That's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
they could have like made a whole different story.
No, not even that. They could have just kept the story the same, and I probably would have been able to like get through that a lot easier than this being like sort of a reimagining of the original one.
What do you mean by kept the story the same?
Like, same plot, same series of events, change the name so you don't they aren't like, it's not like Light Turner, it could be like E Turner, something like that.
Oh. Okay.
And just have it be its own story instead of it like drawing so much from the manga and source material. Because when it does that, there's such a higher expectation for it to be really good. But if you just make this like a side standalone story, you don't have that huge expectation. It's not like an American company trying to do Death Note. It's an American company, I think it's American, that's telling their own story in the Death Note universe, and they're not like sort of replacing it, they're expanding the mythos.
Wait, I'm confused then. Are you saying are you saying they should have changed the story, or
they should have
like, cuz at first you said they keep the story the same.
What I'm saying is the story that the Netflix film was telling, that story would have been a lot better if they had just changed the character's name. So instead of this being a reimagining of the manga, it's like this, where it's taking place in the same universe, but involving different characters. Because that way, there's no longer the direct comparison between the masterpiece of the manga and the corporate cash grab of the film.
Oh, so then should they have also changed the plot, or literally only changed the name?
Just change the name.
Huh.
Let me ask you a question. In watching that, did you ever believe that any of those characters were the characters that they said they were?
No.
I mean, I know L's a brother, but I'm pretty sure that's the wrong complexion.
But I mean, okay. But like, the thing is, I don't think that would have made it good. I feel like the only way the Netflix adaptation would is if they made it a movie, they would have had to have the writer of Death Note write it. That's the first. But otherwise, if they're not going to make it a movie, like, or if they're not going to have the writer of Death Note, then it should just be a full TV series, because otherwise it should just be a full TV series that copies what Death Note did, like the plot word for word, because It's just so much of Death Note has to do with the story, and it's so hard to replicate that.
I mean, for me personally, it wouldn't have made it good. It would just made it less bad.
Oh, true. But like to me, that's not saying much because the Netflix adaptation was probably like a 0. So
William Dafoe as Ryuk, though, that was amazing.
Who? What?
William Dafoe, the guy who played Ryuk.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, you know what? I give the Netflix adaptation of Death Note a 1 out of 10 just because of
Like, seriously, like there's when it comes to like adaptations, they're the actors that can either play a version of the character, like Joaquin or Tom Holland, and then there's the actors who can play the character or who are the character, like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man or Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Oddly enough, William Dafoe was straight up Ryuk for me.
Yeah. And also, the guy, I know we're like really off topic now because we're talking about the Netflix version, but the guy who played as L, I forgot what his actual name is in real life. He's a good L. Like,
oh, he is.
I feel like, yeah, he matches L's character pretty well.
Honestly, I could totally buy him as like being another one of like L's disciples along with like Nier and Mello. Like make an O or something. That way you have like M and O.
Yeah. And also I think like, okay, this will be the last thing I say on this. I think it would be interesting if the Netflix adaptation had been more like this one shot where they just like put it in an alternate place and just put like a little spin on it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that would have been much more compelling overall.
Right.
Yeah.
So, back on topic, let's talk about the one. So, one shot basically begins with Ryu chilling out in like the Shinigami world. Not the cool one from Bleach, but the ghetto version. I'm assuming that this is the Shinigami ghetto. I'm assuming that all like Afterlife and anime is just like one giant state. But we see him interacting with other death gods. We see him get bored, and he makes the awesome decision of going out and screwing with some humans. We then get introduced to our main protagonist, who is smart, and thus is given the Death Note by Ryu. And I have a few problems with it. So is Ryu just going around at like random school, just going through like the test bank? Was he like hacking the like national test database? Does like the Death Note automatically like give you, does like the Shinigami Eye include an IQ score so you can like better plan their deaths so it doesn't seem too suspicious?
Yeah, like there's actually a couple things that I don't get Ryuk. Ryuk probably is the most like confusing character to me in Death Note because it's so interesting how like this is such a like complicated kind of like it's like a smart kind of story. But it starts off on like such a stupid premise of Ryuk just wanting to be fed apples. Because like why can't you just go steal some apples? You know, why do you have to have someone, maybe it's like his kink or something. Like why do you have to have someone feed you apples specifically? I guess it's probably just a like he really just wants to like, you know, screw with people, but it's pretty funny.
Because the other thing is, they've shown that he can interact with, like, physical material, so he could just, like, go to a produce section and just start scarfing them down.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get why, like, he could just go to the store and pick up some apples. He doesn't have to do all of that. And also, do you think... another thing that confused me is... I don't understand how they were trying to characterize Minoru. I'll just call him Akira. I don't know. I don't understand how they're trying to characterize him because is he supposed to be smart or is he not supposed to be? You know,
he's supposed to be smart but an underachiever.
But I mean, they even like if that was the case, why would they mention about like him just taking a bunch of IQ like you know quizzes and like stuff that tells you how to do well on IQ tests and stuff like that? Because if that was the case, it would have just been like, yeah, he's a genius, but he's an underachiever, right? They could have just been like, yeah, he's Shikamaru. But they went through the trouble of telling you that he learned how to take the IQ test, so he's not even really that smart, right? So the whole reason I'm saying this is because they set it up at the beginning to make it look like he's not smart, but that plan he came up with was unbelievably smart. So it kind of just contradicts it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, and I know that's kind of like the story would not be the same at all if the Death Note was in the hands of a person. Like, it just wouldn't be interesting at all. But I don't know why they bothered to make it seem like he wasn't smart. Like, I don't see any.
I feel like they did it to sort of connect him to the audience more, because, and also separate him from L, because this guy, he isn't, L, Light. This guy isn't Light. He isn't like a megmaniacal high school student with a god complex. He's just a dude, and they want to like I think they wanted to throw in like the fact that he has low test scores, sort of ground him more, or give the audience something else to sort of connect with him. Because if he just yeah, he's a genius prodigy who aces everything, you'll just be thinking to yourself, okay, alright, sounds cool, light diet, or diet light.
Do you, like, I wonder why it is that they made him, like, why he told Ryuk to come back in 2 years. Like, why did he have to wait 2 years? Maybe I missed it. Was there a reason?
I think he had to come up with, it took him 2 years to come up with the plan.
Oh, okay. Then I take back everything I said. Because if it took him 2 years to come up with that good of a plan, then he's not that smart. He's just like an average person who spent 2 years coming up. Well, no, actually, I don't think that's it. Because I remember, like, in the flashback, when he relinquished the Death Note to Ryuk, he forgot about Ryuk. And he didn't remember anything until Ryuk came back. So, I don't know what the 2 years thing is about.
That's either a plot hole or him basically predicting economic status quos of this time. Maybe he thought that, like, there'd be enough money and enough time being passed to sort of capitalize on the situation.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Or maybe he predicted Trump winning president. Oh, wait, but no, that would have been 2017, so he would already been president.
Honestly, if you want to, like, go into that route, you could argue that he chose this time because he would be nearing re-election, and he would need something to sort of bolster his poll numbers.
Oh my god, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna assume he calculated all of that. We know Elle would.
Yeah.
I mean, Light
They
would.
both would.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you think about, speaking of L, what did you think about Nier / the new L in the one shot?
I swear to God, when I first saw him, I thought he was a chick. I like the long hair look on him, but...
Same.
Like, I would like to see this version... See, I'm in a rough spot, because I would like to see more of this, and to see, like, the situation grow more. But at the exact same time, it ended on such a good note. It's like...
I don't think so. Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't think it ended on a good note. I think probably this... I'm actually kind of annoyed because I was having such a fun time with this up until the end. Mm-hmm. Because what happened at the end with, you know, how Ryuk gets called in by the king and says... I can't believe you did that. We're going to add a rule saying whoever sells it or buys it dies. That is...
Deus Ex Machina, literal.
Right, exactly. That's the word. It's like the exact opposite. It's like a Deus Ex Machina in reverse, right? I don't see any, like... It's so unfair. Like, it's... Like, I'm actually kind of disappointed because of how, like, smart the writing is. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a one-shot. So, like... It can't be long and it has to be wrapped up. But, like, it could have been wrapped up with him just winning. I know they wanted to have, like, a shock at the end, like a twist at the end. But it could have just wrapped up with him making $10 million and, you know, and that's it, right? I don't understand why they had to add that rule in, you know? It's that if there's anything about the one shot that, like, rubs me the wrong way, it's that.
Honestly, what I think would be like the most mind-blowing thing that could happen this year is this isn't a one-shot, it's a chapter 1, and instead of him like cashing in the check and dying, Ryu comes to him and tells him, okay, this is the deal, and he's like, okay, give me the notebook back, I'll figure out how to do something new with this. And it's just them dealing with the new fallout from like America going to massive debt, but also having a perceived notion that they have the ability to kill anyone in anyone in the world, and at the same time
Yeah.
with like the country going through this economic boom and people still looking for Akira.
Oh my god. That would be so good. That would be so good. I'm tempted to write a fan fiction of that just because of how good that would be. Oh my goodness. I really hope. I mean, I know they're the Death Note authors right now. They're working on Platinum End, right? I think Platinum End is still going. So they probably don't have time for Death Note. But if they did, and this was like chapter 1, oh my lord, that would be crazy. That would be so good.
Heck, if this one shot does well, I wouldn't like if they had just like said like, okay, this is a teaser, this is the pilot chapter for Death Note version 2 or whatever, and they just redo it and retcon it with that change. I would be so far on board with that.
Yeah. But also I feel kind of bad having that opinion because like it's not like because these same two people, they did Death Note and then they did Bakuman. Have you like seen or read Bakuman?
I've heard great things about Bakuman.
Yeah, it's spectacular. I even like it more than Death Note. So they did that, they did Bakuman, and they also did Platinum End, which is ongoing. But to this day, I still haven't checked out Platinum End, even though I know these are like, you know, these two guys are gods, right? So I feel bad being like, oh, I want another Death Note when they are like working on a series that's probably just as good, if not better, right now as I speak, you know? Yeah, I need to check that out. But yeah, it would be, oh my god. I would still be happy though if there was more of this coming. Because also, he's a cool character.
Yeah.
You know, he's cooler than Light, I think. He's way cooler than Light. Because he's not like egomaniacal, you know? And he's like chill, you know? He's like, how do I describe it? He's like the best of us, right?
Yes.
It's like he's like what we would like to imagine we would do if we had the opportunity to have a Death Note. Like we would get the Death Note and we'd do come up with this super smart plan to fool the entire world, all the world governments, and fool near like the smartest guy in the world and come out with it on top with $10 million. And on top of that, not only give $10 million to yourself, but give $10 million to everyone. Boost your country's economy. You're pretty much like a superhero at that point. That's like he's like the best of what we would want to be, you know. Unlike Light.
You know, I wonder. So basically, the ending is basically the plot structure goes instead of becoming super kami epic god like Light, he decides to sell the Death Note. He puts it up on auction by having Ryu post a floating message on live international television saying he's opening to sell the Death Note and bids are open. He eventually sells the Death Note to the US for a crap ton of money, and he has it deposited to a bank and split among all the accounts of people under the age of 60 within that local bank. And honestly, the other thing I kind of would have loved if he had loved for him to do, instead of actually handing out the real, like, he gets the message that if you sell the Death Note, you die. Instead, he just does what Light does, make a fake Death Note, and then use that for the handoff.
Oh, true. Yeah, that would have been interesting. But hey, I mean, who knows? Maybe there will be.
Yeah. Also, I just read the
you know Shonen Jump will be, huh?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Shonen Jump will be putting pressure on them since this went so good, you know.
Also, I just read the so I'm definitely gonna be jumping on Platinum End because that sounds awesome. It looks like Death Note but in reverse. But yeah, I read this chapter and oh my god, the panel of you handing the Death Note to Donald Trump, that floored me. That floored me so hard.
That was probably the best moment because it made me realize how this whole thing came about. I'm like 99% sure. What's his name? I think it's Obata or something. The writer for this. He was just sitting down on his couch one day and he was like watching the news and he was like, what if Trump had the Death Note? And then that's how all of this started.
Also, I love how a Japanese person depicts the president of the United States being smarter than being like. I love how the
That was-
creators
that's-
of Death Note are depicting the president better than most media over here in the West.
I know. Like that was the biggest. That was like probably my biggest commentary that I was gonna give on the whole Trump thing, which is that he made Trump way smarter. That's like, it's so unrealistic. He made Trump way smarter than he actually is in real life, because there's no way in the moment. So like let's just take a moment to imagine this for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Trump is just chilling in his Oval Office, and then, you know, a demon from hell rises up out of the floor, gives him a book, and says, if you take the book, you're gonna die, but if you keep it, it'll save your country, or like it'll help your country, right?
Fake news.
And
Give
he
me
has-
a book.
Yeah, and Trump has the wits to think, no, I'm not gonna take it, but I'm gonna act like I took it. That's such a like 4D chess move that there's no way he would actually. I was like, that's good. That's really good for like probably any other president, to come up with. But like, I was like, okay.
No, he just calls like Eric Trump or like Mike Pence in to like take the notebook for him.
Oh my god, that would actually be so funny. That would be even better. That would actually be better than what he did. Like, yeah, imagine he has someone just like come in and take the book for him. Like, oh my god, that might actually start like international war. Let's not. Imagine if Trump found out about this.
He'd be fine with it because it was like one of the few like forms of like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it made
say
him look
liberal
good. He won the
media.
auction. Yeah, like, yeah. Besides the fact that like it kind of got ruined a little bit because of how they kind of just killed off Akira for no reason.
Also,
I
love how Trump got the heads up and not Akira.
I know. It makes no sense, and like that's another part of it where it's kind of contrived. It feels really contrived because he's like, oh, I would tell him about this last part that was added to the notebook at the last second, but he told me never to talk to him again. I'm sure he wouldn't mind the fact that if I don't talk to him, he'll die.
No, I would have loved it if like the last thing he saw as he was like dying from his heart attack was just like looming over him and saying like, "Don't worry, I told Trump."
And also that also brings me to another thing, which kind of pushed the annoyance level at the end of the chapter even more, which is that it kind of like irked me when that last line was like, or one of the last lines was like, I guess the lesson here is that any human who like uses the Death Note meets an unfortunate end. Like, I feel like this whole thing was just like a very weird way to prove that. Like, I would be willing to be on board with like this lesson that you're trying to push if it wasn't for the fact that he got completely blindsided and it wasn't his fault at all. Like, it's kind of just bullshit. But either way, even despite that, I had so much fun. Like, I haven't had this much fun reading or watching anything in so long. Like, it was so good. And I now that you put the idea in my mind of like, what if this is chapter 1? I can't let go of that idea. If that's what ends up happening, that would be nice.
Right. Totally agree. Any other thoughts?
No, I'm good.
All right, same here. How would you rate it?
Man, I would love to give this like a 10, even a 9. I want to give it a 9. I really want to give it a 9, but just because of that ending, I'll give it like an 8.5. It was really good though.
I'd give it a 8.7.
8.7.
Yeah, because I didn't have.
I always feel. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
So I would have given it a 9, but when you pointed out like the whole thing, then that kind of hits me too.
Yeah. If it wasn't for that, I would have given it minimum a 9, most likely a 10. But because of that, it's just like, it ruined it a little. And I know the reason is just because like it kind of gives you like a cool plot twist ending, right? but I don't think it's worth it. I think it would have been cooler if like he literally just played the whole system and got 10 million bucks out of it and like dipped, right? But whatever. Either way, spectacular. This I want more of this. I probably won't get more of this, but I want more of this.
Yeah.
And if anything, like I've known about Platinum End for years now, and I still haven't gotten around to it. But this just made me like remember how good they are, and I'm gonna like be hurrying back to start reading Platinum End.
Same.
Yeah. All right. Well. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You said you rated 8.7.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, yeah, this has been this week's episode. Amazing podcast. Thank you for watching. Tune in next week where we're probably going to be doing Promare, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, thank you for watching.
Take it easy.